The airplane cabin was quiet as passengers settled into their seats for the long flight from New York to Los Angeles. People pulled out headphones, opened laptops, or leaned back to rest. But just minutes after takeoff, a piercing cry broke the silence. A tiny baby's cries filled the cabin, echoing through the narrow aisle. Some passengers sighed. Others exchanged annoyed looks. In seat 12B, a well-dressed woman in a business suit closed her eyes tightly, clearly struggling to focus. No one on that plane could have imagined that the moment everyone found so frustrating would soon turn into a powerful story of kindness that the crew would never forget. Before we dive into this heartwarming story, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment if you believe kindness can change the world. Welcome to your channel name, where we share real stories that restore faith in humanity. Now, let's get back to the flight. The crying baby was in the arms of a young father sitting in seat 14C. He looked exhausted. His shirt was slightly wrinkled, his hair messy, and dark circles framed his eyes. The little boy in his arms couldn't have been older than a few months. The father gently rocked the baby, whispering softly, trying everything he could to calm him. But the baby continued crying. A few passengers began to complain quietly. One man muttered, "Why would someone bring a newborn on a long flight?" Another passenger shook her head and pulled her blanket tighter around her shoulders. The young father noticed the looks. His face flushed with embarrassment, but he kept trying. He stood up carefully, bouncing the baby in his arms, walking slowly down the aisle. Meanwhile, the woman sitting in seat 12B tried to concentrate on her laptop. Her name was Melissa Carter, a well-known CEO of a fast-growing tech company. She had spent the last 3 days in New York closing a major deal worth millions of dollars. She was exhausted. All she wanted was 3 hours of quiet to rest before another important meeting in Los Angeles. But the baby's cries were relentless. Melissa rubbed her temples. The noise was making it impossible to think. She glanced back toward the young father. He looked overwhelmed. His hands trembled slightly as he tried to adjust the baby's blanket. His voice was soft and patient, but it carried a hint of desperation. "I've got you, buddy," he whispered. "It's okay. Daddy's here." Melissa watched him for a moment longer than she expected. Something about the scene made her pause. Then she noticed something else. There was no mother beside him. No diaper bag full of supplies. Just a small backpack under his seat and a tired man doing his best. The baby cried louder. A flight attendant approached with a polite smile. "Sir, is there anything I can do to help?" she asked gently. The father shook his head, clearly embarrassed. "I'm so sorry," he said quietly. He's usually calmer. It's just his first flight. The attendant nodded sympathetically but had to continue serving other passengers. Melissa tried once again to focus on her screen. But she couldn't. She kept glancing back. Finally, after another round of loud crying, a frustrated passenger called out, "Can someone do something about that baby?" The tension in the cabin grew. The father's face turned red. He looked like he wanted to disappear. Then something unexpected happened. From the row across the aisle, a tall man slowly stood up. He looked to be in his late 30s, wearing a simple hoodie and jeans. His expression was calm and thoughtful. He stepped closer to the young father and spoke in a gentle voice. "Hey, man," he said. "Mind if I try something?" The father looked confused. "Sorry," he replied. The man smiled kindly. "I'm a single dad too," he said. "My daughter used to cry like that on flights. Sometimes they just need a different rhythm." The father hesitated for a moment, clearly unsure. But the baby's cries continued, and he looked completely worn out. Finally, he nodded. "Okay," he said softly. The tall man carefully held out his arms. The father gently passed the baby over. Several passengers turned to watch. The man cradled the baby comfortably against his shoulder and began slowly pacing the aisle. He hummed a quiet tune, patting the baby's back with steady rhythm. At first, nothing changed. The baby continued crying. But the man didn't rush. He just kept walking calmly. Humming softly. Patting gently. Minute by minute, the baby's cries began to soften. Passengers who had been watching curiously leaned closer. Then something incredible happened. The crying stopped. The baby's tiny body relaxed, his eyes fluttering closed as he drifted into sleep. The entire cabin fell silent. A few passengers blinked in disbelief. One woman whispered, "Wow." The young father looked stunned. "Are you serious?" he said quietly, his voice filled with relief. The man smiled and carefully handed the sleeping baby back. "Sometimes they just need a little different movement," he said. The father held his child close, his eyes suddenly watery. "Thank you," he said, his voice shaking. "You have no idea how much I needed that." But the tall man wasn't finished. He reached into the overhead compartment and pulled down a small bag. Then he took out a baby bottle. "I travel with extras," he explained casually. "Just in case." The father stared at him, shocked. "You carry baby supplies?" The man shrugged with a small laugh. "Single parenting teaches you to be prepared." Melissa, the CEO, had been watching everything. Her laptop was forgotten. She felt something shift inside her chest. For the past few years, her life had been nothing but meetings, contracts, and deadlines. She had built a company from the ground up, but somewhere along the way, life had become a race. Watching this stranger help a struggling father reminded her of something she hadn't thought about in years. Her own father. He had raised her alone after her mother passed away when she was young. He worked 2 jobs, yet somehow still found time to help neighbors, volunteer at school events, and show kindness to strangers. Melissa suddenly realized something. Kindness wasn't about having time. It was about choosing to care. The flight attendant approached again, clearly impressed. "That was amazing," she told the man. "You just saved the quietest flight we've ever had." A few passengers chuckled. But the man simply shrugged. "Just helping another parent," he said. Melissa closed her laptop slowly. Then she stood up. Walking down the aisle, she stopped beside the young father. "Hi," she said warmly. The father looked slightly nervous. "Hello." Melissa smiled. "I couldn't help noticing you've been handling this whole situation alone." He nodded. "My wife passed away 3 months ago," he said quietly. "I'm moving to California to be closer to my sister. I'm still learning how to do this by myself." The words hung heavy in the air. Melissa felt a lump form in her throat. "You're doing better than you think," she said gently. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a business card. "If you ever need help finding work in California, call me." The father looked at the card, confused. His eyes widened when he read the name. "You're the CEO of Carter Technologies?" he asked. Melissa nodded with a small smile. "And today," she said, glancing at the tall man who helped, "I was reminded that success means nothing if we forget to be human." The tall man laughed softly from across the aisle. The flight crew later said they had never seen something like that before. A plane full of strangers. One crying baby. And 2 simple acts of kindness that changed the entire atmosphere of the flight. For the rest of the journey, passengers were quieter, but not because they were annoyed. They were thinking. Thinking about how easily kindness can appear when someone chooses to step forward. When the plane finally landed in Los Angeles, many passengers stood up and quietly thanked the tall man as they walked past. The young father hugged him tightly. Melissa shook his hand. You reminded all of us what really matters, she said. He simply smiled. Kindness is contagious, he replied. And sometimes, all it takes is one person willing to care. So if this story touched your heart, remember this. You never know what someone next to you might be going through. A small act of patience. A moment of understanding. Or a simple offer to help. These things may seem small, but to someone struggling, they can mean everything. Thank you for watching, your channel name. If this story inspired you, subscribe, like, and share it with someone today. Because the world always needs more kindness, and it can start with you. Red Heart.